Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's a beautiful morning. Good morning and welcome to the Good Morning Uganda show here on UBC television. Now today is the 1st of August 2023. Welcome to the new month. They say that a new month is a fresh start. Now we usually have so many resolutions that we make at the beginning of the year, and for some people when the year moves in a few months and you haven't yet started, you change your mind and you decide not to do what you purpose to do. But I am here this morning to tell you that it is a new month, it is a fresh start, and it is never too late to start. So you can decide to start today, and before you know it, it will be 2 weeks, a month, and a year into that dream, into that goal that you purpose to start with when the year just began. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I am joined by Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Chantal Olive Akandinda. Now, so many things happened in this country yesterday, and as you know, news will always be news. There will always be something happening, and we are glad to always bring these things to your attention on this show every morning from 6:30 to 9 a.m. in the morning. Now, as you know, the president of this country has been in Serbia on a 3-day trip which ended yesterday. Now, when he was in Serbia, the president inaugurated a trade hub in Belgrade, dubbed the Uganda Connect, and as he was leaving Serbia, he thanked the Serbian president for allowing to buy Uganda's processed coffee. The president has been very vocal lately on the exportation of processed goods vis-a-vis the exportation of raw materials. And of course, yesterday the Kabaka celebrated his 30th coronation anniversary, and of course there was a lot of merrymaking in Uganda as people were celebrating their king. Now, in the latest, yesterday, Uganda Police Force also noted that over 451 accidents happened in 1 week, and of these 79 were fatal and 219 were injuries. Now, this doesn't look good for our country. This doesn't look good for all of us producers. So I'm hoping that as you ply those routes wherever you're going this morning, that you're careful and that you mind about the health of the people that are on the road, and even yourself, because it doesn't matter how long you have used the roads, you can easily become a victim. Good morning, Chirabo.
Oh, love, good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm very fine. Awangale Isabasajja Kabaka wa Uganda. Yesterday it was all merrymaking, like you said. In Lubiri I saw men and women very dressed. Unfortunately, also rain came in.
Yes, but they say
course,
rain is a blessing.
And in Uganda, when it rains, there is so much attachment of joy and success and longevity attached to that. So remember, Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi is the longest serving king in the history of Uganda. Yakyasinza owangalira ku namulondo y'abajjajja be tukuyozaayoza twebaza Katonda akuwadde obulamu wangaala Ayi Ssaabasajja Ronald Muwenda Mutebi. So it is very good news, and more so at a time when we are very grateful to God for the gift of life that He has given the Kabaka of Uganda.
Yes.
It's been a bit of a challenge, but we thank God that yesterday while addressing his subjects, he was strong, he was energetic, he looked good, and reminded government of the unfulfilled pledges. Some of property that has to go back to Uganda, some unpaid property dues, and he said, please, 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 do good, make good. Of course, the kingdom needs all this for its proper and more of its growth. But also, yesterday the Permanent Secretary of the Judiciary came out and confirmed that government is to recruit 2,000, that is non-judicial officers, to support the recently recruited judicial officials that are 281. Now, sometimes you people, when government says they don't have money, we don't understand it. At cost of administration, you recruit 281 judicial officers, and their support staff is 2,000. This includes drivers, officer, attendants, clerks, I think also system managers, 2,000 people.
Yes.
To help, to support, that also included actually drivers, to support 281 judicial officers.
That doesn't make sense. It actually bloats the
No,
wage
they are
bill.
needed, because I was trying to look at, let me just check the list of people that are going to be recruited. System administrators, court transcribers, these are people if you speak in another language, you know. Then you have senior court clerks, record officers, officer attendants, drivers, and court clerks.
But they are supporting how many people?
They're supporting 281.
But they are 2,000.
Yes, but there are 2,000.
Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense because they are needed. For these people you've recruited in this last financial year, they need drivers, they need office attendants.
No, my challenge is here. I'm saying you are hiring 2,000 people. Of course, people need jobs, so I'm not going to fault government for giving jobs to people, but I'm saying 2,000 supporting how many?
281.
Olive, does that make sense to you?
That. You see, are you going to have, for example, a judge who has no office attendant, who has no driver?
Now, if you put it like that a judge will need a driver, an office attendant, an assistant, and a secretary.
So you mean to tell me that now the money is available to do these things? Because at some point, government was saying there is no money.
It's catered for that in last financial. That's why they recruited more of these, established about more courts still. And this is all aimed at expediting justice and ensuring justice, fight case backlog.
A very good cause, by the way. A very good cause, because if you had a chance to go to the courts, you will agree with me, the backlog it's going to weigh heavy on you. But the question would be, are they really necessary? Couldn't we do away with some of these officers? Couldn't we? That is the question on the table for me. I'm not saying they are not necessary, but was every person on that list
among the
really
recruited
necessary?
we have justices of the Supreme Court. There are 3 justices of Court of Appeal, judge of High Court. There are 17. Now, when you continue the list, you see that these are all necessary However, the support staff is where I think maybe somehow the list could have been short.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
And that's exactly what I was
Also
trying
with
to say.
technology, because an officer
If we are trying to do things better, then systems that can be put in place to handle some of these things should really be utilized. But
if we are saying that we do not have money, we might as well look into mechanizing some of these things so that instead of employing 5 people, we can have a gadget doing the work of like 3 people. Now, someone might say, someone might say, Olive, you don't want Ugandans to have jobs. I want Ugandans to have jobs, but I also want the government to cut costs as much as possible.
That's why this issue of we need more this, we need more this. Now Ugandans must understand that when you need 17 judges of the Court of Appeal, it's not only them that you're not giving us judges, government judges. The judges have to come with support staff. So it's not only just one recruiting one person.
The question is the support staff you are talking about. Are all of them really necessary? That is why the question is. But away from that, Cherabo, are you aware that in the coming years the government is also going to be spending about 1.9 billion Uganda shillings on medical interns?
That is less, by the way, than what has been spending, because each medical intern has been, since in 2001, each one was getting 2.5 a month for housing and accommodation.
2001?
2001. Each medical intern was getting 2.5 as for housing and meals. Now, but they had requested to get 3 million, by the way. Each 3 million. Parliament had approved that 3 million when they met. When they met the president, he said, no, let's try and bring to 2.5. So, 2001, those medical interns, that shift has been receiving 2.5 million. Now these ones, for them they are getting 1 million because that is what government can afford now to let them go to their deployment center.
But you also can't deny the fact that the economy then and the economy now, they're at different levels. We can't deny that. 1, different levels, yes. 2, government expenditure has grown ever since. Yeah. So even that 1 million, it could be a bit of an overstretch. Could be, I'm just saying, could be a bit of an overstretch. But we can't deny over a year.
Yes.
We can't deny, though, the role of the medical interns. I had a chance to interact with their general secretary, and he tells you we do most of the work. The medical interns do most of this work in the hospitals, and you can't deny the role they play. But how do we strike the balance and make sure that government expenditure does not go overboard?
Actually, 70% of work in health centers is done by medical
interns, yes.
And that's exactly why doctors were also planning a strike of their own, because they were burdened. Medical interns were not working, and if they're not working, it means doctors have to see way too many patients.
Yes.
And because of that, you will find that the doctor-patient ratio is going to be extremely high, and one person can only do too much.
It was actually already high. In a day, as a surgeon, for example, you are not supposed to operate more than 4 people in a day, and that is maximum. That is when you've overstretched. But someone tells you, I go into theater 6 in the morning, I come out the following morning.
No, that's not okay.
Exactly.
That's a stretch on someone's body,
someone's
mind,
quality of life, the mind.
Yes.
And how sure are you that this person is going to be sober? If I've started at 6 in the morning, I've entered theater, and even by 6 p.m., I don't think I would be sober enough to conduct another surgery that is very successful. That is, you're risking the lives of Ugandans and the lives of the doctors themselves.
And that's where mistakes come from. That's where we get cases of cotton forgotten in the mother's uterus, yes. And because we do not deploy the interns in time. But I'm glad that at least this is a step in the right direction. At least now interns are going to be deployed, and they will be starting work this month, actually this very week. So that's a step in the right direction. Right now we are going to look at some of the stories in our local dailies. Shirabu.
We begin with His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who returned safe from Serbia. President Museveni returned home from Serbia President Museveni was seen off by the country's first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs at the airport. President, during his departure, were Uganda's ambassador to Serbia, Elizabeth Paul Napekyo, and Minister of State for Animal Husbandry, Honorable Bright Ravirama. At Entebbe International Airport, His Excellency was received by the Vice President, Jessica Alupo, and Minister for Presidency, Honorable Millie Babalanda, and the Chief of Defense Forces, General Mbasu Mbadi. Police Director for Human Resource Development, AIGP Godfrey Goroba, and the Deputy Commissioner General Prison Services were among those that received the President.
And the Vice President, Major General Jessica Alupo, has launched the construction of Karamoja Peace and Technology University in Kotido District to foster peace and education in the Great Lakes region. The university will be established in Losilang Ward, Kotido Municipality, Kotido District. The university project is spearheaded by Kotido Catholic Diocese, led by retired Reverend Dominic Aibu, the Bishop of Kotido Diocese, and the Catholic Lawyers Society International. When complete, the university will offer courses in computer science and applied technology, oil, gas, and metals industry and education.
Moving on, the Kabaka of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, reminded the central government of the unfulfilled pledges to the kingdom. In his message during his 30th coronation anniversary held at his palace in Mengo, Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi reminded government of unpaid property dues to the kingdom. Thousands convened at Ilubidi Mengo Palace to grace the coronation anniversary of Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II. Different leaders from different social, cultural, and political divides graced the 30th coronation. At around midday, the Kabaka of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi, arrived at the palace in Mengo for this ceremony. The Kabaka welcomed his subjects amidst cheers.
Now, police has attributed the 451 accidents registered last week to overspeeding and unnecessary overtaking. Uganda Traffic Police spokesperson Michael Kananura told the media that 79 deaths were reported, including 27 pedestrians. And during the late week of July, police recorded 451 accidents resulting in 77 fatalities, 219 serious injuries and 155 minor injuries. A total of 417 victims were involved, with 79 deaths and 338 injuries. Uganda Traffic Police spokesperson Michael Kananura told a weekly media briefing that among the fatalities, 41 were motorcycle accidents, 6 were passengers, and 35 were riders. Additionally, 27 pedestrians died in these accidents.
And crossing over to the international scene, the U.S. presses Taliban on human rights at Doha talks. The U.S. has urged Africans ruling Taliban to reverse policies responsible for the deteriorating human rights situation in the country, particularly for women, girls, and vulnerable communities. It also pressed for the release of detained U.S. citizens during talks with the hardline Islamist group in Qatar. The Taliban said they wanted travel restrictions lifted for their leaders. The group swept back to power in Afghanistan in August 2021. This followed the chaotic withdrawal of U.S. troops from the war-ravaged country. And away from that, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees has appealed for $1.6 billion for its work in 2023 after its head warned it was struggling to fulfill its mandate due to the spiraling costs and shrinking resources. The UNRWA, which provides services to nearly 6 million Palestinians registered in the occupied Palestinian territories and neighboring countries, warned that compounding challenges had placed it under immense strain. Compounding challenges over the last year, including underfunding, competing global crises, inflation, disruption in the supply chain, geopolitical dynamics, and skyrocketing levels of poverty and unemployment among Palestinian refugees have put immense strain on the organization, and this is according to a statement that was put forward. And coming back down to Africa, Burkina Faso and Mali won against foreign intervention after the Niger coup. Burkina Faso and Mali have warned that any intervention in neighboring Niger would be considered a declaration of war against the two countries, a signal of support for leaders in the recent coup there. In a statement released yesterday, the governments of Mali and Burkina Faso also refused to implement what they called illegal, illegitimate, and inhumane sanctions against the Nigerian people and authorities. The transitional governments of Burkina Faso and Mali expressed their fraternal solidarity and that of the Burkinese and Malian people to the people of Niger, who have decided with full responsibility to take their destiny in hand and assume the fullness of their sovereignty before history, and that is according to a statement. And speaking matters weather, extreme weather events are exactly the time to talk about climate change. Now, record-breaking heat waves are sweeping across the northern hemisphere, affecting the large parts of southern Europe, the US and China. And on July 24th, Sicily recorded blistering temperatures of more than 47.5 degrees Celsius, and wildfires are currently tearing through Greece. The heat waves come as record numbers of fires continue to burn across Canada. Now, a study by the World Weather Attribution Group found that these heat waves would have been virtually impossible without climate change. In fact, the heat wave that is affecting parts of China has made 50 times more likely by global warming. This is exactly what climate scientists have been warning us about for decades. Climate change makes many types of extreme weather events more likely, more intense, and longer lasting.
A lot happening in and around the world, and we will be letting you know more that is going on this morning elsewhere in the world and of course in Uganda. We will take a short break, and as we do that, we'll leave you with the song of the day. This is Good Morning Uganda. We will be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's a beautiful morning. Good morning and welcome to the Good Morning Uganda show here on UBC television. Now, today is the 1st of August 2023. Welcome to the new month. They say that a new month is a fresh start. Now, we usually have so many resolutions that we make at the beginning of the year. And for some people, when the year moves in a few months and you haven't yet started, you change your mind and you decide not to do what you purpose to do. But I am here this morning to tell you that it is a new month. It is a fresh start and it is never too late to start. So you can decide to start today, and before you know it, it will be 2 weeks, a month, and a year into that dream, into that goal that you purpose to start with when the year just began. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I am joined by Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Chantal Olive Akandinda. Now, so many things happened in this country yesterday, and as you know, news will always be news. There will always be something happening, and we are glad to always bring these things to your attention on this show every morning from 6:30 to 9 a.m. in the morning. Now, as you know, the president of this country has been in Serbia on a 3-day trip which ended yesterday. Now, when he was in Serbia, the president inaugurated a trade hub in Belgrade, dubbed the Uganda Connect, and as he was leaving Serbia, he thanked the Serbian president for allowing to buy Uganda's processed coffee. The president has been very vocal lately on the exportation of processed goods vis-a-vis the exportation of raw materials. And of course, yesterday the Kabaka celebrated his 30th coronation anniversary, and of course there was a lot of merrymaking in Uganda as people were celebrating their king. Now, in the latest, yesterday, Uganda Police Force also noted that over 451 accidents happened in 1 week, and of these 79 were fatal and 219 were injuries. Now, this doesn't look good for our country. This doesn't look good for all of us producers. So I'm hoping that as you ply those routes wherever you're going this morning, that you're careful and that you mind about the health of the people that are on the road, and even yourself, because it doesn't matter how long you have used the roads, you can easily become a victim. Good morning, Chirabo.
Oh, love, good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm very fine. Awangale Isabasajja
Agunde
Kabaka
Omtanda.
Uganda. Yesterday it was all merrymaking, like you said. In Rubiri, I saw men and women very dressed. Unfortunately, also rain came in.
Yes, but they say
course,
rain is a blessing.
And in Uganda, when it rains, there is so much attachment of joy and success and longevity attached to that. So remember, Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi is the longest serving king in the history of Uganda. Yakyasinza owangalira ku namulondo y'abajjajja be, tukuyozayoza, twebaza Katonda akuwadde obulamu, wangaala Ayi Ssaabasajja Ronald Muwenda Mutebi. So it is very good news, and more so at a time when we are very grateful to God for the gift of life that He has given the Kabaka of Uganda.
Yes.
It's been a bit of a challenge, but we thank God that yesterday, while addressing his subjects, he was strong, he was energetic, he looked good, and reminded government of the unfulfilled pledges. Some of property that has to go back to Uganda, some unpaid property dues, and he said, please, 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 do good, make good. Of course, the kingdom needs all this for its proper and more of its growth. But also, yesterday the permanent secretary of the judiciary came out and confirmed that government is to recruit 2,000, that is non-judicial officers, to support the recently recruited judicial officials that are 281. Now, sometimes you people, when government says they don't have money, we don't understand it. At cost of administration, you recruit 281 judicial officers, and their support staff is 2,000. This includes drivers, officers.
Well, good morning once again. Good morning once again. My name is Olive Monica Nejuma, and this is the hour where we get to have a conversation regarding some of the stories that have made news. And today we will be delving into the highlights regarding traffic and, of course, accidents in our country. Now, yesterday, Uganda Police Force released a statement saying that 451 accidents were recorded in the last week, and 79 of these were fatal, where 215 were injuries. Now, this does not look good, and all of us are road users. We use these roads going to work, going to school, taking our children to school. We use these roads on a daily, but it seems like we have become road misusers instead of road users, and this is very concerning. Now, if you're not new to this country, if you're Ugandan, you've lived here, or you have been keeping abreast with the news, you know that we struggle with road carnage in this country, especially around the festive season, but of course all around the year. Now, I want us to have this conversation, Chirabo. What does this make you feel? These new numbers, do they make you feel comfortable? Do you think there is a decrease or increase in the accidents on our roads?
First, this is sad. You know, death is death. And we all believe that at one time, if we are not here to, you know, in the book of Revelations, there are those that are told that our Lord Jesus Christ will return and they will be living and they will go with him. Mm-hmm. But we don't know how soon or how long he will return. So we all know that at one time we will succumb to the fact that we will die. However, there is what we call preventable death. Me, I never believe that when a person dies, no matter the terms and circumstances, it is the will of God. Why does God want to take more Africans than the Europeans? Yet we are all in his image. Are we so good that God wants us to go and meet him more than he wants people on other continents? No. What is killing us are preventable causes. I'll give a simple example, even just to drive my point home. Before this government, we had so many young children dying of what we called the 7 killer diseases.
Yes.
When the NRM came up, established peace, began working with the international community, we have now immunization. People will tell you who have lived long that those days a village, it was very hard to find someone without a disability. Children were crippled with polio. Polio, crippled. Today, we had a campaign, Kick Polio Out of Uganda, we even declared polio free.
That's true.
Tetanus, measles would kill children, the entire village, they would even circle. Husbands, no sleeping with your wives because you have children suffering from measles, no eating meat, no, so much nonsense was surrounding that. Today it is vaccination. When my child gets measles, the guy is even playing around with some rashes. So those children were dying of preventable diseases.
So according to you...
That wasn't the will of God.
Yes, so according to
now,
you, what do you think are the
these people
causes
who are
of
dying
these
in
accidents?
these accidents, that for you call accidents, me, I don't call them accidents. Because to me, an accident is something that happens beyond your control. Not when you know you're doing a show that starts at 6:30 and you're leaving your home at 6:20 and saying 10 minutes, I'll cruise through. Not when you check your pedals and you tell even the people in the car, this car has a braking problem, but we shall reach Njajia. You know? And then I say, a man who has some bit of the Queen's language understanding, he perished in an accident. Then people come and tell me, actually, even the man told us when you are entering the car, that can never be an accident. Because you knew and even told people. Not when someone has been over speeding and began, we told the man, please go slow, because he couldn't listen. And now you're a survivor where 40 have died. I can't call that an accident. That's not the definition or the English understanding of the word accident. So what you're having in Uganda are not accidents. These are acts of reckless driving. These are acts of overspeeding. These are acts of driving DMCs, vehicles in poor mechanical condition. These are acts of incompetent people being on our roads. These are acts of road indiscipline, and to a greater latter, acts of poor road design, acts also of poor roads, but also acts of good roads.
Good roads?
Yes.
Please explain.
Entebbe Express Highway is one of the good roads we have as a country. This very year we lost one of our friends in the journalism fraternity, Edward Muhumuza.
Yes.
A person I knew very well, and we began this journalism thing together, we meet and all that. He had a fixed program. And if you analyze that accident, may his soul rest in peace, I don't want to go back into that. You would see, go and see how many accidents happen on that highway. One time we also lost some person who was, he owned even a radio station, Galax.
Yes.
This guy had a very good car. I use Entebbe Express so many times. But a person can almost flying. So even good roads, Masaka, when it was repaired, you saw how people would cruise. You have a good road in Uganda. Even a person tell you, in just, we go. Good roads are killing us. Much as even the bad roads are killing us, because you're going away from a pothole, then you end up
in another
head
lane.
On.
Yes.
So, we do not have accidents killing us in Uganda. If they are very minimal. What we have is us Ugandans killing ourselves, committing suicide, because we are forewarned. Look at these. Have you ever met this nonsense of Subaru drivers?
You're preaching to the choir.
As if you people who drive Subarus, as if you're mentally sick. You find someone, you say some fool, I'm sorry to use that word because he almost took my life. He was driving a Golf. He came from a bus somewhere into the road, and then he began that spinning nonsense. I'm like, do you have a family? Go to border riders. There's even a saying that these people, their wives never prepare dinner for them.
Because they don't know if they're going to return.
And actually, in this new police report on accidents, it is said that over 41 people died on borders. 35 of those were border riders, and 6 were passengers. Now,
do you want to tell me, in all honesty, you mean me, I'm a Christian, and the one virtue I know is truth, have ridden motorcycles. I'm even in the Bikers Association. I know that when I'm on a motorcycle, I'm the body. We would travel Uganda, border, and all that. But we have principles. You must have a riding permit. If you are going far, you must have all these gadgets, knee. And if you don't have them, you don't go with us. You must have a particular type of shoes closed up to here. We look at the quality of helmet you're going to have. We even have who is leading, what speed do we go to. Someone goes through the road if you are going before. We have an advanced team, so they know the dangerous spots and all that. Now, compare that to our border riders. A person who will have an helmet, doesn't put it on, sees a police officer. Now you want me also, with my proper thinking, to say that is an accident. I'll be abnormal. I wouldn't refer to that as an accident.
Now, since you are
90% are preventable.
Now, since you are a biker yourself, And it is said that most of the accidents on our roads, especially in Kampala metropolitan, are caused by border riders or borders, in like compounding effect. What would you say, what would you suggest should be the best way moving forward? Should borders have those shoes, special shoes that you mentioned? What should they do that you, the bikers, are doing right? Because it seems like they didn't get a certain memo somewhere.
One, you have to first organize the border community so that they have where they are held accountable to. These people are in their own world here in Uganda.
How many years has it been since we've been talking about regulating the borders in Uganda?
And it has failed.
Last year, KCCA tried to organize them, register them. Now they have reflectors, at least that has worked. Because in the morning when I'm driving to work and it's still dark, you can at least identify a border rider on on the road. But I feel like that is also still a drop in the ocean, because there is so much that needs to be done to organize the border riders.
Do you know why they wanted to do medical tests on them? Mental medical tests, because you will look at how this border rider is moving and you will wonder, is it the fuel from the tank that is getting him drunk for him to do something like that? You will ask yourself that question. One time I have like a specific border guy that I use like for errands or if I'm moving, so I asked if someone did something and I was like, but what do you be thinking? I wanted to pick his mind. And he was like, Madam, whatever. But those kids wake up in the morning and get drunk early morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Alcohol early morning.
Yes.
These border riders, they use drugs, they use alcohol. And even when you're a disciplined driver, driving in Kampala will be a sport if you find border riders.
Now, Chantal, on that thought, you said border riders are sometimes drunk, and I agree, because I have sometimes sat on a border, and you could actually catch a whiff of alcohol off of them. Now, as a road user, because when you are on that border, you're also a road user. What are you supposed to do? Should you just continue with the journey? Should you talk to the guy? Should you get off the border?
We need to look at our safety as individuals first. Personally, if someone smells alcohol, they're not going to take me. I'll make sure, if you've seen me at the stage, I'll have a conversation with this guy. I'll even be like as if I'm negotiating. But I'm trying to check how sober he is. I'm trying to see if I can move with this person. And if I feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to sit on that bike, because my life comes first. If I sit on that bike and he's driving like he has a bag of potatoes on his seat, I'll tell him, Sebo, put me right there, and I'll get off.
How about when he's dirty, he's wearing open shoes?
No, I can't use a dirty border rider. I can't.
And it has nothing to do with cleanliness, by the way. But for me, if I see a border rider who is dirty, it goes to show me that probably this person is irresponsible.
And you see, the biggest problem here is that statistics continuously show that the leading victims of road accidents are border riders
themselves,
followed by passengers.
Yes.
But on a sad note, regulation has failed. Why? For borders. Why I told you that for us it is possible to regulate, because we have a body where we believe in. If, say, on the 25th we are going to be going to Masaka, there's some charity drive and all that and all that. But you have membership, you have dress code. And when we say you're not going, you don't go. Or you're eliminated from the group because you failed to meet regulations. It is your bike, it is your money. But if we get an accident with you and we lose you, we could cancel the entire tour to come back for burial and organize. But you have also lost, importantly, a friend. So there is a body, and we respect our leadership. We elect it into power. We respect it, we abide by it. Now, the border people don't have a leadership that they respect, abide by. The associations have been politically influenced. There was one time when they had what they called the 2010.
Border 2010.
Border 2010, led by, I think their patron was Abdallah Chitata.
Yes.
Now, that at the beginning had some reason. However, as time went by, politicians came into it, became more of a party thing.
Yeah.
Then also they went commercial. They were no longer looking at the plight, the welfare, and the lives of border. They were all looking at buy our card at this amount of money. They began stealing and it became a menace. So, for borders, we need regulation that a border person must know. That one, I have a body that is strong, empowered by government. If they are to impound my motorcycle, they can. The traffic regulations are also strong. But also, the city planners. At one time, KCA came out and said, we cannot have all these borders in the city. You look at about 400 stages gazetted. You see, when there are so many.
Have you been to, you've been at the Ginger Road Junction?
Yes, and many junctions.
If they release the ones on my left, for example, the border riders at the back, at the front, they will meet in the middle and they want to knock each other. And you will find the traffic guy is standing right there looking at the mess, the hot mess that is happening.
Do you know why the traffic guy is looking at the hot mess? Because there are many. He's outnumbered already. Is he going to chase all of them at once? He cannot.
Let me
but
put,
that also shows a loophole in our system.
Let me put something to your attention. Shortly after the Ginger Road lights, you're going to find traffic officers staged, waiting for border riders to ask them, do you have a permit? To do the checks with them. You understand? You'll find them staged at these different places, asking for all these things from the border riders. The question is, those very same people that are deployed, can't we have, say, random days when they are staged in those places where they have to control the traffic to make sure that these boys do not cause such chaos? Do you know how many people have fallen, have been knocked at those, just that
well, the border rider is trying to take off, the passenger,
the traffic officer says,
arrested.
The ones who are this side, move. A border rider from this side will come wanting to cross. You understand? Now, the other thing that I think is going to fail us from controlling this is the fact that these are people that are not professionally trained. A boy is going to grow up, Form 6 if he has reached, or Form 4, and he's like, what do I do? Let me sell this plot of land they left for me in the village. Go to Kampala and ride a border. Because probably that's where they think the life is. This boy comes, learns how to ride the border, and the next thing, no traffic rules, no nothing, he starts to ride. So when he gets well acquainted with the road, the next thing you're going to see is mayhem. Because for him, he just came to ride a border. If you care about your life, if you have a dream and a goal, you will be more organized. The bikers are organized. You understand? Because you have a goal, you're living for something. This boy, at some point, if you can sell land to buy a border to ride, then there are question marks in the middle there.
And even what has worsened the problem, we have now loaded people who have the money. They go purchase these motorcycles and they give the motorcycles to the boys on hire purchase. So he doesn't even have to look for so much money. I'll go buy this Bajaj, I buy 10 of them. If, for example, each would go for 5M, then for me, I'll tell this person, hire purchase, you're going to give me 7M, I give you a period of 2 years. So they are making exorbitant profits. So it's very easy to acquire a motorcycle. And yet, there isn't sufficient regulation to that. But even worsened is the enforcement has also become corrupt. I've witnessed a number of these impounding of motorbikes. The whole thing needs forensic audit because enforcement must have sensitization. These two move in tandem. You're having an enforcement campaign, but you're having sensitization. That is why you find that a border doesn't figure out properly that this head helmet is to protect my head. These bones, we've had fractures. But the brain, there is nothing they can put there.
So now you know why they want
there
to
isn't
test
sufficient sensitization. 2, when enforcement comes, these people are corrupt. I can say it without fear of contradiction. Those boys, you see the zeal to to impound those motorcycles is not about enforcement.
Most times, yes.
I know our police officers, most of those of lower ranks, agamanyi ge bakozesa n'obumalirivu. It's not that they are enforcing the law. It is because they know they are getting something out of these boys.
So it is everyone for themselves.
Officer akukwata ayagala sente. If you don't have, they take your motorcycle to the police. Even also the police, you go, you pay in the bank, who arrested you, you know there is also some. So it is economic benefit. And when you have such method of enforcement, you can't see victory. But even away from the borders themselves, because not all acts happen with the borders.
Yes.
We still have other gaps.
We have other gaps, and of course, when the police gave this report, they said, of course, heavy truck drivers are also a big cause of road accidents on our roads, because they, first of all, overtake from the wrong places. For instance, the accident that happened yesterday, where 4 people died in Ngora, the trailer was trying to overtake from the left side of the road. Now, my understanding is that keep left unless keep right unless overtaking. Am I mixing it up?
It depends on the roads.
That is evidence of a Subaru driver.
No, it depends on the roads, on the road you're at. Some you can't overtake from the left, depending on the road sign. So
yeah, because sometimes if, let's say, someone is getting off the road, you have to first be sure that they are off, like their car is now into the other direction before you can overtake. Now, what happened was that another trailer was trying to get off the road, and this person just decided to overtake. And of course, they ended up hitting another car where 4 people died and 3 people were injured. And you mentioned misuse of good roads, because on Saturday there was still another accident on the express highway where a 4-year-old died. Now, some people say that when it comes to the express highway, that Ugandans are just reckless. You have this beautiful road, it has 2 lanes that show you that if you're to drive fast, this is the lane you use.
Right.
If you're to drive slow, this is the lane you use. But you're going to find a fast driver in the lane for slow people.
Drivers, yes.
And before you know it, he hits the car that is ahead of him, and we have a fatality.
Now, 2 things here. There is indiscipline of road users.
okay.
That people just choose to be in discipline. You would find someone, even when you have right of way, they don't respect that. That I'm the one joining the road, there's someone on the road. Even when it just requires a minute or 2 of patience for someone to turn off. Someone is not willing to do that. Then sometimes there is temporary jam because 2 adults have failed to use what is common but not common.
The sense.
So you delay a lot of time in discipline, impatience. But also, how do Ugandans acquire driving licenses?
Oh, yeah.
Thank
If
you.
we are to be honest, my sisters here, well, I don't ask this.
No, actually,
All of you
Chantal,
drive.
you could tell us, how do
But
Ugandans get
How
driving
many
licenses?
of you, including myself, I must confess,
Okay.
went through a driving school, even you watching us?
Okay, I went through a driving school, so I'm one of the few Ugandans that did right by
With
the
these
law.
automatic,
Chantal,
with these
did you?
automated cars. Did you go through a driving school?
Yeah, I did. I did go through a driving school, though by the time I went to the driving school, I was just perfecting.
So
I was just
because
So you
it
started
was
by-
part of the requirements for you to get a driving license.
I will not lie.
So,
But
when
then
we
again-
talk about things she's talked about, road furniture, many call it road signage or that.
I wanted to get to that point.
People don't know these signs.
Thank you. I went to the IOV, and very many people like me who had driven for some time, they knew how to, the box parking, they could do it very well, very well. Scored A's and B's and A's. Take them to the road signs. But also you cannot blame them, Cherabo. How many road signs do you come across when you're moving on Kampala roads?
Zebra
I am
crossing.
talking about Kampala, Mukono, and Jinja, like those cities or municipalities that are prone to these accidents. How many road signs do you find? Are they explaining to you properly what you're supposed to do?
No,
Do you, if you needed help, how do you get that help? You understand? So the issue of road accidents, in my own opinion, has a lot to do with all of us.
Yes.
Me as a driver on the road, my neighbor who should drive responsibly because it's not him on the road alone, and then even the government institutions that are supposed to help us. Make sure these road signs are there so that if you catch me in this fault, I will have no excuse. Do you know that there are people who will be caught and be like, I find there's nothing that shows here. What but they'll go.
There is that, but also there is the vandalization of
when
traffic
I was arrested by a
signs.
traffic officer and he was telling me the speed at which I'm driving, and I told him, where's the signpost? And he was telling me,
You other people.
about 2-3 miles back, and he was reminding me of.
But
then
now,
later
on
he said,
that,
but you're a trading center. Still, so it becomes road signage.
They assume
Or
that you're
trading
supposed to
center.
know.
Is a problem, but first, we must have people know these road signs.
that
I've
is
seen
how we
people
go
that-
back to
and
driving
I don't
schools.
know, even the simplicity among the simple, the simplest among the simple becomes a problem. I've seen people get lost on the express highway.
My friend.
Even in front of people get lost on that highway. Even when signage is properly, this goes to this place, you know, that suck, and they're showing the routes. You find someone is lost, is trying to engage reverse, gear is confused.
Reverse
and you're
on
like,
the
but this is a highway. Why are you doing such a thing? I was supposed to, but that's, and said, look, what does that sign say? So, many Ugandans have not gone to driving schools. There's so much you learn in the driving school, not only just about the road signage, though road signage
The
is one of the things that
discipline on
is
the road.
very important. So many Ugandans don't go there, and others find alternative ways of acquiring driving licenses. Someone has a driving license. I know those even have never sat behind a car and they cannot drive a car,
I
but
know
they
some
possess
like that.
driving licenses.
I know
So what?
some like that.
Yes.
But away from
They have
individual
them.
drivers, saloon car drivers, how about the men that drive? I'll say men because most of the truck drivers are men. How about, yes, the bus drivers that ply long routes? Because last year, you remember, we had a grisly accident in
Right,
Fort
right,
Portal where
yes.
about 65 people died. And of course, we had many more
Yes.
on that route.
Associated with different
Kampala,
buses, yes.
Fort Portal, Kasese, but also Kampala, Jinja Highway. We lost a member of parliament last year on Jinja Highway. And of course,
Even this year we
this
lost-
year we lost
we
a
lost a
businessman.
businessman, yes.
And a member of parliament,
And a
okay.
member of parliament. So now, when we lost the businessman, Aponye, it was said that his car hit a stationary truck that was, a car had died and it was stationed in the road.
Kind of
What-
mechanical breakdown.
Mechanical
Yes.
breakdown. But now for me, since that came out, my biggest question was, did this car was there a reflector to show where there are hazard lights to show that a car ahead has broken down? Because I have a feeling that that driver went in blind. He didn't know what was ahead. And then, of course, something catastrophic happened. Now, when it comes to these drivers, especially bus drivers, truck drivers, are they well trained? Do these companies take the time to train their drivers on how to behave and how to carry themselves on the roads?
Two things. One, they could be trained. Two, it could be the work overload. Let's agree to disagree that most of these truck drivers and bus drivers or long distance drivers are really overworked. Most of them do return journeys. Now, when you go to a more professional and organized company, there is supposed to be a limit to how long you can drive. You understand? Because they're putting your mental health into consideration, your physical health into consideration. They're putting into consideration the hours you are driving and the hours you are recommended to drive vis-a-vis your age and your health, by the way. But you're going to find a 50-year-old man driving a particular bus on a certain road, and this man is dozing. Yes, he's fending for his family. He has done a return journey. He's trying to maximize. Now, if we don't have those regulations as well within the companies, that kind of professionalism, we're going to keep facing the same challenges. So they could be trained, very disciplined on the road, but the guy dozed off. Simple as that. That was beyond his control. He even tried to take a rock boom, but he couldn't.
Because when
He
the
couldn't
body
sustain it.
needs
When
to
the body
rest,
is
the
tired,
body
it
needs
will
to
tell you
rest,
it's
yeah.
tired. It will show you it's tired.
Yes.
So it goes back down to each of us. If you are into logistics and you're a logistics company owner, you need to set principles that need to be followed. If our businesses are run on, we are more profit oriented than people oriented, we're going to keep having these losses.
And now that's where the law enforcers come in, because you'll find that sometimes people overlook at money beyond lives of people. You have a bus, I don't know how much a bus costs, and if you're having return journeys, police has somehow tried to enforce some of these, and for bus companies, most of them employ professional people. Now, when we go to trucks, the reverse is true.
But hold that thought before you go to trucks. I have seen some buses on the road, and honestly, they have no business being on the road. You look at a bus, and it is scrap, to say the least. But it is going to ply a route from Kampala maybe to Gulu, or from Kampala maybe to Fort Portal. So in as much as you say that the drivers for these bus companies are well trained, we also need to go back and look at the buses themselves. Are they in good condition? Are they roadworthy?
Now, roadworthiness is also another problem in Uganda, because sometimes even what may look roadworthy may have problems. You see, vehicles are very funny.
We've seen cars of 1990 something on UB something. Are you aware?
Yes, I saw a tweet where someone was like, this car is old. How come it has a UB number plate?
Yes.
People refurbish, people do all things with an old vehicle and may look very, very new. Because we once had an initiative where cars would go for regular inspection to see the roadworthiness. But that no longer happens. A parliament sometime came up, there was an investor who set up a number of, if you're around the Entebbe Road, I think it's Kawuku, you see that? And a number of roads
and in Kawanda.
Yeah, where you're supposed to drive in and they check, but that ended. Now, when you have officers on the road, because there's a system for the buses, and it's still there. However, if violated, then the enforcement has a problem. Now, when you go to these big trucks, we have a very big problem there. Trailers, a very big problem there. Those drivers rarely go for driving school. This is how it happens. One time, Chirabo, who maybe was a lorry driver, goes to the village, picks a son to be a turn boy. There's someone who assists him. Now, this boy is watching as Robert is driving. He's watching. Now, if Robert was chewing card to stay awake during the day, I mean Mairunji card, to stay awake during the day, this boy now learns that for you to be able to drive this lorry for a long distance,
you're going to have to chew card.
You have to chew card.
But Robert has been doing this for years.
Now he notices, okay, that is one of the technique. Then Robert says, I'm tired, come I teach you. After some time, when Robert reaches and is tired, he goes up, they have those cabins, sleeps, the boy is taking over. And because they know that these cars are hired and they are carrying goods, so they are going to be paid, or they are coming from depositing goods and they have been paid. Traffic officers or enforcers, once they stop them, because it's not a private car. Mzee, what do you have? No mali nyingi, because he has goods and he's going to be paid. So the man coughs something, they go on. I want to tell you, people driving those big vehicles, they are among the biggest category of people who are not qualified. Because for these enforcements, you just try and attempt to hire one to take on these highways. He will even tell you if the journey costs 100,000, then he will tell you 20 for the officers along the way. And if he's regular on that route, and I don't know why police department, Mr. Lawrence Niwabine, I know you're watching, this continuous deployment of traffic officers in one area for a long period of time, that I know Ginger Road, there is some kind of crook there. He has committed a lot of atrocities but he's still there every day. I've reported this man to you. I see no change. He has dominated as a king in his palace.
He has become familiar.
Now,
with that
these
place.
particular officers get to be used to the road, and the drivers know them. Even when he's stopped, he will just look at.
Wow.
So, and he will come back and pay money to this person. You know, like, if I passed,
Excuse me?
yes, and I wasn't able to give, because the officer knows this vehicle is a DMC, there is overloading and all that. So if he's passing and he's stopped, you can go.
What the band?
So when he's coming back, he will stop a bit, get out of the car. Have you noticed why when a taxi is stopped, the driver doesn't remain on the wheel?
Yes.
On the steering wheel? Immediately opens that door and runs in the side.
But this also
Then
looks
clears.
into
Because
a bigger
these
problem.
are people who have corruption. You see,
Yes.
to stop corruption, there are methods you have to put in place. You're telling me you have one person at Ginger Road. He knows every nonsense that is being done. He has even built his own territory. One time this guy just stopped cars at once. So riders were coming from this. No indication, he just deployed these ones in regular uniform. Arrest all those. Then 50,000 for you to go. Buddhas. That's what I said.
So
this
he was
enforcement,
setting his own.
a trap. Around 6:30, he makes these cars that are coming from Ginger Road heading to Mukwano, he makes it a two-way. Then he stations regular officers. So for these border guys who are coming, because they are doing the right thing, you've just diverted traffic, you don't have any sign to show them, they're just arrested. These highways, our driver will even take her to So we are creating an atmosphere that is conducive for these officers. Otherwise, people, I want to tell you, if you had good enforcement, we had good road discipline of road users, we had qualified people to be on the road, we wouldn't have these accidents as much as we have today.
But we share responsibility, because
All
in
of
as
us
much
do.
as we want to call out the traffic officers for being corrupt, it starts with us. Because you have had so many people saying, oh, when you're driving, try to move with that changed money for traffic officers. Now, we are enabling this situation. We are giving traffic officers money on the roads because we do not want to be bothered. You know you're driving a car without a driving license, and you're like, I'll give him a 30. You alone are contributing to the problem in this nation.
Do you know what? I just want to take you to our neighbors, and I know my sister would allude this. If you're going to drive in a small country called Rwanda, and you know you don't have a driving license,
Don't bother.
don't bother.
You see, those are systems that have been put in place.
One, a person, even if you report that, for every bribe you report, there's something you're taking. Two, the criteria of deployment. The officer you find on the road today at 8,
It's not the one you'll find tomorrow.
thank you.
So we need to get that.
You know, there are certain things that you do as an officer in charge. We are willing to advise you if you take our advice. Even in a home, there are things you do and you're creating fertile grounds for some of these incidents to happen. And let me tell you, you people, globally, why even you have constitutions and the law and the forces which we call coercive forces, because there will always be people who are criminal-minded, and there must be a watchdog to stop them. Personal responsibility is very important. It's not a traffic officer who is going to die in this accident. But believe you me, there will have to be somebody who will break the law. So where does the strength go? If the enforcement is strong and doing the right thing, then it will be very easy. Have enforcement have sensitization, because the traffic laws and guidelines give an officer 3 options. For example, some and most of the traffic offenses, you can give an express penalty. You can caution. You know, if you're over speeding, a traffic officer can stop you, tell you, Mr. Chidaba, I see you with your family in a car. When you do, you'll die. Look at your kids. Talk this aloud and say, I'll let you go. And please do not do this again. You know? So, Uganda, why we are seeing all this is enforcement is not weak, because you've seen them perfect to the latter, but the element of corruption that makes it possible for a person to know. Then this self, and I love my sister saying, but it's you. Self-regulation is also very, very important. Self-regulation, it is you is going to crush your head, you border rider. And when you crush your head and turns into pieces as if it's a watermelon that has been hit on the ground, you're gone. If you survive, you may remain a useless person.
And if
forever in hospitals.
If you're a passenger on this border and you decide to let him bypass traffic lights, it is lighting red, which means stop, and you of course let him continue, go through T junctions, you are putting your life at risk.
On the other side
so
of the
we
road.
all, yes, we all need to be vigilant when we are on the road, because you don't have spare parts for life, you do not have spare parts for your body. But anyway, that is an interesting conversation, and if you like to join in, you can reach us on our Twitter handle. You can share your thoughts. We will be glad to have you interacting with us. Now we are going to look into the dailies for this morning.
Well, in the dailies today, I have with me the front page of the New Vision and roar over FDC polls. There is still struggle in the FDC camp, and this is not about to end, I can assure you. When you hear what Derek Nyanjura, for example, had to say, my friend, it's not going well. Diplomacy, Museveni commends Serbia relations. The full story is on page 3. And also, my task has just begun. That is according to Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi. And you're going to find the full story on page 6. And in terms of business, Ruto orders Mombasa to ease Uganda trade. Page 5 is where you're going to find the full story. Funding Busoga leaders split over 20 billion shillings institutes. That and so much more in today's copy of the New Vision. Please grab yourself one and make sure that you keep yourself in the know.
Let me leave Ugandan papers now and move to our neighbors. Well, the Daily Nation, here we have fees, the citizen, sorry. We have, that is board autonomy welcomed as 10 score hits, milestone, and still looking at that, we have oil, gas, exploration blocks up for grab in Zanzibar. Then act nation in bid due to lack of rule of law. Then reasons behind rise of UTT, and also that is in terms of asset value. Still looking at the sit-ins there, 11 students feared dead in that is an accident. And of course, more of these stories if you get yourself a copy of the Citizens.
And crossing over to the Daily Nation in Kenya, fees shock for varsity students. You'll know more about that story when you buy yourself a copy of the Daily Nation. And negotiators named as Ruto, Raila teams deepen feud. Now, on the breakthrough side, KNH's historic unborn baby blood transfusion. That's an interesting story on page 10 of the Daily Nation. And of course, rogue or ignorant ministers red-carded. What is that all about? You'll find out on page 8 of the Daily Nation. And of course, they have a story about a girl shortlisted for 14 million Kenya shillings global prize. What was this competition about? You will know the details on page 3 of the Daily Nation. Well, it's been an interesting newsreel this morning. We will be back. We are going to take a short break. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Topic of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obwivwa okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wano ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018 twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira kusani fish farm ebwikwe ni side day dindeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo dali ena okuva mu operation were creation era okuba yongereza ku emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongereza ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano bebaza government yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga eferi abana Uganda.
In fulfillment of the constitutional obligation, which mandates the state to make reasonable provision for the welfare and maintenance of the aged, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is implementing the Social Assistance Programme for Empowerment (SAGE), designed to provide income security and reduce poverty among older persons. Over 300,000 older persons in 146 districts in Uganda have benefited from the grants. The income security has made life better for eligible older persons aged 80 years and above, registered with the National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA.
Nyewe ndi baranyita Jefferson Kahindi, Rujanjara Kabura, Gombora Chanamira, Kabare District. Kagamanya kurugirira abebembezi ba RC bari kutugambira na radio. Akasente kaba kayikuru kanyambireho aha kuboneza biogas yanjye nenyamba kuteka ekabire nenyamba nahatara kwa kamwe nahabwe etara kwesa mantron ka pressure lamp eri kubasa kuleta habaho umuyaga iri kunanka nkatamusora wene etara nagireka ninkozesa muhega kuteka kusha naguraho nembuzi kandi n'ibindi binshatekereza gukora. Government tuyambire kuri net twongera hakasete tukabona okutwa shashura n'abakozi obuyambe bwa government twire ntibwacira kandi tushemererwa konka twenda cyokuberekira basika batwongereho.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning, Uganda, once again. Now, today we have been delving into the traffic highlights from Uganda Police Force. So as you move on the roads this morning, you need to be really careful and not turn into a road misuser. You need to be a good road user. But before we get into our traffic updates this morning, there is a notice from Kampala Capital City Authority, especially for people that apply the route of Old Port Bell Road. Now, KCCA, in partnership with the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, JICA, they are implementing a project for the improvement of traffic control in Kampala, which includes construction of 27 junctions and a traffic control center. The public is hereby informed that essential excavation works on Port Bell Road are scheduled at Nakawa Junction near UAP building starting 1st August, that is today, to the 15th of August 2023, which is going to be a period of 15 days. These works, conducted by Kanoike Construction Company Limited, aim to enhance the drainage capacity by installing a 900mm diameter pipe and a culvert, and as a result, this section will be completely closed to traffic during this period. We will be working closely with traffic police to control and direct traffic in the area. While we strive to minimize disruptions, motorists intending to access Port Bell Road from Ginger Road at Nakawa Junction are advised to consider using alternative routes as per the diversion signages installed. Your cooperation during this period is greatly appreciated, and of course, for any questions and concerns, you are asked to contact KCCA on the addresses given below. So if you are going to Port Bell Road, or you're moving from Port Bell side to the city center, you need to know that that route is closed for you for the next 15 days starting today. So you need to plan your route very carefully before you find yourself stuck in traffic jam and missing that important meeting. So today, this morning, we will be looking at the traffic updates, and yes, we are going to look at the route of Old Port Bell Road now that part of the road has been closed off. We want to see how the traffic is along the other diversion roads that have been created, and we will pick it up from Port Bell Road right before Silver Springs Road. And yes, when you look at the road that comes from Chinawataka, you will see that there is some bit of traffic there, but it is not so much. It only becomes a traffic holdup when you join Old Port Bell Road itself from the areas of Chitintale as you move to Bugolobi. Now around Salama Springs, yes, there is a traffic holdup because usually that road is very narrow, and it has roads that come in from Nakawa, roads that come in from Bugolobi Trading Center. So usually there is a holdup there because of the other feeder roads that also join and feed into the Old Port Bell Road. You will spend some time there because yes, one of the roads has been closed off, so it will not be easy for you to go through the road easily. But when you move along and you continue on to Spring Road, you are going to find that there is no traffic. There is actually a smooth flow of traffic, but as you reach Katazamiti Road around Jazz Supermarket, there is that road that comes from Shakazuru side. Yes, there is some traffic there because it is every car right now is using one route to get to the city center, that is Old Port Bell Road. So because of that, because the road in Nakawa has been closed off, yes, you're going to be held up in some sections of the road, especially at intersections. Now, as you move along Village Mall, yes, you're going to be held up there. And as you know, there is that road that comes from the side of Shell. It comes from that side of Bugolobi that has the industrial area, that side. So you're going to find many trucks on the same road trying to access the same road that you want to use to get to the city center. Spring Road seems a bit congested this morning. There are many cars on the road today because I see traffic coming from 5th Street joining Spring Road again, and it continues again up until when you reach that intersection that takes you to the areas of New Vision before you join the main road, that is the Kampala-Jinja Highway. But now when you reach the Kampala-Jinja Highway, the traffic seems to be flowing steadily, so you will not be held up. You will just find a little bit of traffic at the Jinja Road roundabout, but we understand that roundabouts have traffic because of the many roads that are joining the roundabout, and of course many road users trying to access the city center using the same route that is feeding them into the city center. So there is some bit of traffic along Yusuf Lule Road around Garden City area, yes, because there is still some bit of a roundabout of people going along Nile Avenue and others proceeding to Spring Road, to Yusuf Lule Road, so you might spend a bit of time there. But as you continue along Kampala Road, yes, the traffic seems to be moving steadily, so you will be okay there. But around Cham Towers there is a traffic hold up, and around Entebbe Road there is some bit of traffic. Not so much, you won't spend so much time there, so no need to worry. But as you move again along Kampala Road, you're going to find a bit of traffic around Simba Telecom. It's not so much, so you won't spend so much time there. And yeah, you will be able to move into the main business center. Now, as traffic said, there have been 451 accidents on our roads in the past week. I'm hoping that as you move to the city center, as you move to any place that you're going to, that you are a responsible road user, because we all need to be safe on the road, and we can easily become victims on these roads. So be careful. There are no spare parts to life. You need to drive responsibly, because you have the lives of everyone that is on the road in your hands, but of course you're also responsible for yourself. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something, but the most important qualification is imagination. His reason is to be the GOAT. The reason to imagine is to take the beat and make it lit. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Amaina gange ninze tusuubira lyaga Margaret. Ndi Munawanyago Tailors Association Sako ey'emyoga. Tuli batunzi ba byalaani. So ife nga Nawanyago Sako twafunako emiliyoni 8 era bagiire nga badiiza mpola mpola ate nga bwe bongera n'okusavingaku. Era akasente ako katuyambyeku, katutolaku wetwali, katwongeraku eidaala okusobola okweyamba n'okwesitula mu maka gaife n'okulabirira famire gaife. Era tutwala omukisa guno okwebaza gavumenti yaife eya Muzeeyi Museveni Yoweri Kaguta Tibuwabulwa olw'okutuyamba ife abantu abawansi.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Juko. Yo. What you go? Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
In fulfillment of the constitutional obligation, which mandates the state to make reasonable provision for the welfare and maintenance of the aged, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is implementing the Social Assistance Programme for Empowerment, SAGE, designed to provide income security and reduce poverty among older persons. Over 300,000 older persons in 146 districts in Uganda have benefited from the grants. The income security has made life better for eligible older persons aged 80 years and above, registered with the National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA.
Omaru zimi abiri aya ma village amatangai senda dai amu monvele udo ma fotoke ojo ilimo disi ami ziliga ajo ilimo didai ama tidi uti ma birega ama togo biso ibibiru aya ama afanga amina rule kama rokobu ko mena ba kobu kugala amu kama rokobu kuga haya lugunwe ala kumvida machi haya mundo mopi akoidepi amu pichachando museveni ba mopi aziri mundo ikare aziri bini ala choba ala diba ala sedede ala si akonga di be sanda mam seveni be yani diki asiki be akwadiki daddy madochi haya ujo zire do ajo afalamu umbilamu di madochi aya osido kodaki aya olodo ulado kodaki ilimodri lidora ujo chado dogara idan gogara ni ba mari sana najo de ni ba orodi sana da fedo korisi bada matawo amuso kwaziko jola mande akozi do di saison de senior de classe irga sana classe irga de takimara kwera do musana da fera aya sana di madonjala masitu dida zako manjala masina na muso sana ba faida laga sana dai mamu do sana masana da nan ga sinigal fukale kale zirdi taw mamu do sana ga sanda njala mamu dindu sulelo aji mama ga gichi dusi jo dara se misi aya madu mjida gera amamu do basana vovule du sule anado baide me gbabati ki finna anna sana zada sinna aya sana da ava amo ai mbaka manga kwa mingi anga mani musana da jindo sana da jiya mani cheche biriga mejo ba zusu kwala ko sanna se mete ko ziko mi sana da na pirinaga ba zir ki kido do duse ba ni sende jo ki do dino na ki sana da na pir lakini masana da ruma duga ene mato mudi choga anje leko mamudi choga mo dikalave sana di do di mabasi sere de wadi sana sene gba pere ma dusu mazi dinje amase ma ko de gba de la dusu maza ko dilega le ojozi do majo jodo sana do kidiga do madipi mingila idido yu sana de baza koma musu dira afa ma dofo ama dofo afa de pedo ngadilega senda didita fukula daka nonga bo amata manga jokor amasa dikegale muta manga ko museve ngaba kwazala ba mudile
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices and gets a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
In fulfillment of the constitutional obligation, which mandates the state to make reasonable provision for the welfare and maintenance of the aged, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is implementing the Social Assistance Programme for Empowerment, SAGE, designed to provide income security and reduce poverty among older persons. Over 300,000 older persons in 146 districts in Uganda have benefited from the grants. The income security has made life better for eligible older persons aged 80 years and above, registered with the National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA.
Ngare bere chi abero jog dario yan mi cheje buila ko gena buila ko diam minge luwa te ter ko na tayat kaya dano pagyo ate wot ken ko nya wilo ba te ko nya wilo diegi ko nya wilo ka burro ap chen ko nya ke gine ko nya ke gale gine gal tiama de ar gorro per rambur kuna bor ka rom ko nya tin moto te tiri ko nya ke moto motor no man motor ma ko tu agora ana po ye gira po ga menne an kala kor gina ana ko po matek.
This is a message from Expanding Social Protection, ESP, implementing the program under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. ESP, better life chances for all.
This This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. His reason is to be the GOAT. Their reason to imagine is to take the beat and make it lit. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Morning, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV from 6:30. We really appreciate till now. Welcome to yet another very interesting segment. Why is it very interesting? Because we get feedback from you by simply going to our social media platforms. We have a WhatsApp number, and the same number you can send an SMS message, and that is the number that's just popped up on your screen. Now, that's how interesting this segment is. You send a text message to my guest and you get a response to your concerns. I'm Robert Chirabonyo, and today I have some good news for Ugandans, mostly in the health sector. Now, as of today, the medical doctors in this country had planned a strike. Why a strike? Over delayed deployment of medical interns. Now, if you've been closely following what has been happening, we've had a number of strikes, we have had a number of arrests of those that would be doing medical internship because government had delayed to find funds to have them deployed at various centers to carry out that year of practice that gives them a practicing license. Now, joining me on set is the Secretary General, Uganda Medical Association, and this is Dr. Herbert Ruswata. You're most welcome, Doctor.
Yes, thank you. Good morning to the viewers.
Now, Doctor, we thought, though we didn't want it to be, that doctors were going to be having a strike in solidarity, but I think also for other reasons you tell us. And on the 27th, I saw a very interesting letter that was written by the Director General of Health Services, I think Dr. Henry Meresa, saying that government had found resources and a list of deployment of about 1,901 interns had been out, and they wanted them by 3rd of this month to be at their various centers. We have 58 centers in the country. Is this the document that doctors depended on to call off your strike?
Yes, exactly. That is the communication we depended on to call off the strike. When we received the news, of course, to us, the seniors and the juniors who are supposed to do internship, it was exciting, the part of deployment with pay to start with, because a number of these interns have been home for a very long time with their degrees after graduating from the universities. Some have been home for 1 year and 2 months, others have been home for 8 months, and I think the ones that had been home for a shorter time was around 6 months. And their biggest worry was that much as they had all these degrees, they couldn't make any money out of them, because you cannot practice medicine or pharmacy or nursing anywhere without a license. It is illegal. So they had to wait until this mandatory internship is accomplished for them to get the licenses, and that's when they could be able to be employed anywhere. So they were very frustrated. They felt like maybe the government has forgotten about them. Some of them had started getting this feeling that maybe our country does not need us as the health workers anymore. And a few of their colleagues actually moved and went to Southern Sudan and started doing their internship from there. There's a number of them who had applied for internship in Kenya because they had lost hope completely. And, you know, we had a number of engagements. We met the speaker. They discussed as parliament, they made recommendations that we should have these interns deployed and, you know, and even be paid. Cabinet sat, and they also passed the same resolution that, no, we have to pay our interns, they should be deployed. So the biggest disappointment came when finally cabinet, because everyone thought cabinet is the highest authority, when they made the resolution and nothing happened. And the finance minister, who was directed by the same cabinet to look for the money, was not coming through. So it became a problem. And when we kept on engaging with the finance minister, again, he was telling us that he's waiting for instructions from the president. So a lot of questions came in, everyone was wondering. The chairperson of the cabinet is the president, and they already made the resolution. Why are we still waiting for another instruction from the president? So, you know, people talked a lot of things. People started saying that maybe the president gave us with one hand and took away with another. So there was a lot of doubt which was created among us. Then we said, since we can't find a problem through, you know, peaceful means, maybe let us just, after frustration, we decided. We had a meeting, a general meeting with all the health workers, and we said, I think what we need to do is just pull off all our labor as a medical fraternity to show government that we cannot leave our juniors to suffer, and we just look on. And the other biggest problem, actually, which pushed us so much to say that we should announce a strike, was because our colleagues who are currently in the government hospitals were overwhelmed with work. You know, most of our population here, people cannot afford private health care. It is very expensive.
Yes.
They go to our government hospitals. So there were very many, and yet the health workers on ground are very few. We have a very huge human resource gap in our hospitals, over 60%. So the slots which are filled in many of our government hospitals, they cover around 40 to 45%. So this big gap usually is covered by these interns as they are doing their internship. So our colleagues were overwhelmed. Some of them were working 24 hours. They could not even find time to go at home and rest. Our hospital here, Kawempe National Referral Hospital, where most of our mothers are delivering from, it was a mess. Time came, the number of mothers who are dying was increasing, and the children. It reached an extent, and we said, no, much as the government is still ignoring us, but we cannot watch people die. We are human beings.
Because I was going to ask you, I went to Kawempe because I had a friend who told me I'm in Kawempe doing internship. Then I said, but are you for real? And then told me, no, Robert, we are in a number of government hospitals. Said, was it Hoima? He mentioned Soroti.
Yeah, there was also Soroti. And
Soroti, yes. And I was like, but, and when I came to Kawempe, I found a bunch of medical interns there doing medical internships. So I was like, now, Ruswata and this, like, what is happening?
We knew about it. But we reached the wall, and you know, it is very hard when you are trying to save lives. It becomes very hard to accept death when you can prevent it, even when you are at your worst situation. We knew that the hospital was under a very bad crisis, and we accept. They said, okay, maybe the government is not yet understood us, but let us save the lives of the mothers and the children in Kawempe. We accepted that some of these pre-interns, instead of sitting at home, let them go and volunteer in Kawempe, and we saved the lives of those mothers. Because at the end of the day, you will say, okay, we got very many people died in Kawempe because interns were not there, and then you say, because we were waiting for government to act on our demands, but you as a doctor, your conscience, that guilt remains with you, that as we were in the struggle, we actually lost a lot of people. So we didn't want that, and that's why some of them went there, others went to Soroti, and other hospitals where we felt there was need to have people there, because we wanted to minimize the damage. So they went because to prevent the burnout and try to save lives. And then the other thing was the reason why we allowed them to go there was number one, the boredom at home, and then to also instill hope. One of their colleagues actually At some point, a demand posted on WhatsApp group that he's going to commit suicide. He has failed to go to Southern Sudan and to Kenya to be accepted for internship, and the government is not acting. So he said maybe you can volunteer somewhere instead of killing yourself. But he actually didn't go anywhere to volunteer. At the end of the day, we said, okay, let them volunteer for now, we prevent death. But when we go for a nationwide industrial action, which you have announced and prepared government for, now even those ones who have been volunteering should pull out and each and every health worker. Maybe the government wants to see people die
That
first.
was going to be disastrous.
Yes, because we had lost hope. We said maybe this is what the government wants, to first see people dying, and that's when we shall get their attention. So we are glad that like 32 days to this nationwide industrial action, they sat and agreed that it was necessary to deploy these interns, number one, and then number two, they need an allowance. We were not happy about...
And now, just to get it there, let me remind our viewers that you can use the number on your screen to send us a text message or a WhatsApp message regarding the issue at hand. Medical workers have called off their strike that was scheduled to start today because government has responded to the deployment of medical interns, and come 3rd of this very month, medical interns are expected to report for duty in the 58 centers to start their medical internship. Now, my worry, Dr. Ruswata, I've been following issues in the field of health regarding welfare. And I remember medical interns used to get 900,000. That had for housing and feeding. Then Parliament somewhere, but you can clarify more, Parliament, I remember, then had passed 3 million as allowance. But then that didn't see the light of day. Remember, you and others met His Excellency. Then you agreed to 2.5. And if I've not mistaken, the intern intake of 2001, each of these got that, were getting 2.5.
Yeah.
Yes? Now, when I look at this circular, these interns are going to get 1 million. Is this really light at the end of the tunnel? Because the previous got 2.5 per month for their housing and their feeding. These ones, government says because of the available resources, they're going to be getting 1 million. Isn't this now setting a precedent? And is this agreeable and a fair deal?
I would say that it is agreeable given the current circumstances. I would say it is fair. I wouldn't say it is good. However, why am I saying it is agreeable is because at the beginning, the earlier discussion was that we don't have any money.
Yes.
And we are not ready to spend any money on these interns. And actually, the Minister of Health put out an announcement, and they were saying that those ones who are able to do internship for free without pay at 0 shillings, you should apply, then we deploy you and do your internship. Now that is the worst danger we are trying to prevent. I remember as soon as that circular came, I responded. I wrote and I told interns, do not apply. Because this is something that is going to be very bad and to kill us all. And we are glad as Uganda Medical Association that they listened. Because the argument, I think that time was from the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Health, who first had a meeting with the interns on Zoom, and she was clearly telling them that we do not have money. And there's no hope of getting any money. There's nothing we can do. You just have to do your internship or leave it. So we are trying to fight to move away from that kind of slavery. You know, it is very dangerous. Allowing a doctor with a degree, a nurse or a pharmacist to enter a hospital, a government hospital, to go and offer service free of charge without any form of allowance, it is dangerous. These people are supposed to go and help patients and save lives. But when you compromise them, you can turn them into mass weapons of destruction. They are going to destroy patients. when we are managing patients in the hospital, we have professionalism and the ethics we follow. The patient who needs the most urgent care is the patient who is attended to first, regardless of their financial or social background, regardless of their financial status. It doesn't matter. The one you think can die too fast, you take care of that one. And those ones who still can, you think someone you think can even take 6 hours, they can wait and first save the one who can die very fast. Now, when you take away that professional ethics of conduct from a doctor because you have compromised them by stripping them of money, because they don't have what to eat, they don't have money for accommodation, they don't have transport for tomorrow, that thing will corrupt their mind. They will start practicing medicine depending on who can give me something which can take care of my lunch. You find someone who can even be alive for 6 hours because he has money and he has paid something, who get the first care. And the one who needs the most urgent care will be left behind. And as you are working on this one who could stay, you lose the other person who has ignored. Now, when the practice is dependent on who can pay more money or faster, now we lose it as the doctors. At the end of the day, you get surprised that you have a good number of health workers in the hospital, but instead you are losing more lives, and then you wonder what is happening. It is because there is a problem which has happened. So that is what we are trying to avoid. Number one, to protect them, their welfare, because they need to practice when they are in a good, state of mind, when they are healthy, and then so that they can also take care of others and improve their lives. Then number two, to protect the public from bad practice. The worst bit was going to be at the time when some of them are arrested because of extorting money from patients, and that is the worst, because when you are arrested and then you're taken to court and you're convicted, you'll never get your practicing license from any of the councils in Uganda, because that's what the policy says. If you have ever committed any crime and you're convicted by court, even when you had a license before in our profession, you lose it. So now this one who has never even touched it, they will never get it. It means their career was going to start to stop in internship. So we are also trying to prevent that. And these are very worst situations. Even our president, when they were in the bush during the 5 years, during the struggle, when the things became hard, they also used to go and raid and take cows and steal food to survive.
Definitely.
And that's how they survived the 5 years during the struggle. They were not getting money from anywhere. But we are glad that finally the president went back and paid people in Ruel. I come from Ruel, and I know all the stories my parents have told me. So I'm glad the president went back to Ruel and compensated those families where they took the cows and all that. So we didn't want that kind of situation.
Yes.
So the reason why I'm saying that this pay of 1 million is fair is because we moved from zero, which was initially proposed by government. So I can call it fair. Now, it is not good because we are not able to reach the 2.5 million, which was the presidential directive. In 2019, we went to Parliament as Uganda Medical Association, and I'm the one who made the presentation actually on the plight of medical interns. We had a number of issues. Number one was the pay, which was 900,000 that time. It was very little. Number two was about accommodation for the medical interns and other health workers. Number three was about effective supervision as they are doing their internship to ensure that they get the proper skills they should get. So there was a big discussion in Parliament in 2019, and actually Parliament made resolutions, and one of them was that interns were supposed to receive 3 million, and then in the long term government was supposed to construct internship houses at different internship sites so that they can have where to sleep. Number three, the government had a responsibility through the Prime Minister to ensure that they recruit specialists who are the supervisors of interns, to put them in these different hospitals so that they can effectively supervise the interns at the same time provide specialized health care to Ugandans. So among the specialists we have now, like us, the gynecologists, we have the surgeons, we have the pediatricians. Those are the supervisors of these interns, and that recommendation, it is there on record, and the Prime Minister was supposed to act on those things. So that time in 2019, I think a number of things happened and this was not implemented. But in 2021, we went to State House and we had a meeting with the President himself, and we told him that here there is this recommendation from Parliament. Inflation is too high
Yes.
And we need to raise the salaries of these interns together with all the other health workers. And actually agreed, and the president negotiated and said, okay, let us put it at 2.5. And then so that it becomes half of the salary for the doctor, which is 5 million. And it was a good deal. We accepted, and it was implemented. Now, this directive was given by the president, and it became a policy. Since the president has not removed or receded this directive, it means that policy still stands.
Stands, yes.
The reason the Director General is giving 1 million is because they have budgetary issues, and this can be sorted anytime. So meaning, as long as the budgetary issues of Ministry of Health, whatever happened, is sorted, in future, the interns should be able to get the 2.5 million, because it is a policy and it has not been removed by the president. Unless if the president himself wrote and signed and said it should go back to 1 million. That means he should have changed his earlier policy, and he has not done it. So we have hope, and we're going to continue advocating that Ministry of Health sort their budgetary problems and whatever, and then in future we should see the 2.5 million coming back, because it was agreed upon by the government, and by the time the president agreed, it means the government can afford, because you consult.
Okay, now Dr. Ruswata, one thing also the public wants to understand is, for various disciplines, courses, people do internship. We have our lawyers, someone finishes his degree, but they have to go to Law Development Center for a bar course. And none of these internships, government gives allowances. Even other colleagues, electricians, in the science fraternity. What makes medical interns so unique, or how unique is their internship that government must give an allowance? I was looking at the number, about 1,901. And if each of these is to have $1 million every month, we are looking at about $1 billion plus per month. If you're to multiply that by 12, you're looking at about 12 million for a period of 1 year. They have to go to. So what makes these people so unique from other professions that do intern, that necessitates or mandates government to give them an allowance? 2.5 million, even graduates doing a number of jobs under government payroll don't get 2.5 million. Here we are discussing over person who has finished fine, but having a year of practice.
Our profession is unique, if I may say, and it is a very good profession, but it can also be very dangerous depending on how you handle the situation or the environment around it. I'd like to state and say that doing this kind of internship, you know, it is the internship, maybe we should understand what it means, medical internship. When people are doing other courses, for example, our colleagues, when you're doing journalism, I think all courses, even people who are doing banking and all that, when they are studying, in the period of studying, they go and get those attachments, and that's, for them, that is an internship, when they are still in the universities. For us, it is a must when you are studying to become a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist. The study comprises both the theory and the practice. And actually, if you don't have the hospital where the practice can happen, you cannot train in a medical course. It is just part of that. And for us, we don't call it internship. It is still studying. It is a normal way. When you are a student and you are studying to become a doctor, when you go to theater and you do Syrian section in 5th year, it is not internship. It is, the whole thing is studying. So it only becomes internship after getting that degree and getting a title of a doctor, a pharmacist, or a nurse. After. Then you are out of the university, you are no longer a student. For other people, after getting that degree, you go and practice and you start earning. The years of study are many. 5 years for doctors, 4 years for pharmacists, and 4 years for the nurses. Now, considering the number of years and the fact that you have already a degree, and when you are doing internship, it is practice under supervision. It is, they are not students, but practice under supervision, meaning by the time I did my internship, I was in Lago here and in Kawempe. I remember the first day I reported, I started from Kawempe. I went to Kawempe, Chirudo, and even Mulago here. The first day I reported, the earlier interns were there, had already left. The first day I reported, I reached there, I said, well, so you have come. Some of our colleagues came a bit late. but the first ones who reported were around 5. The first thing they told me is that, are you stable with your surgical skills? I said, yes. They told me go to theatre. I reached theatre, mothers were already there. I went to the table and I started operating. Someone just came, observed me during the first operation, and they saw I was stable, I could do it, and then they moved away. They said, I think you can continue. It is real work. So we are dealing with the lives. That is another very important thing you have to look at. Now, when you are doing internship in our field, it is very funny that, you know, during the normal working hours, people do 8 hours. Even people go to LDC and all that. You do your 8 hours and you go. Our things are very different. There's no single day during my internship when I worked 8 hours. The minimum I worked, I think, was around 14 hours. Because you work, and as long as there is any other patient who comes in or an emergency, which can lose their lives, you don't talk about going home, that your time of work is over. No, that is not there in medical. You don't compromise patient's life because your time of work is over. It is not there. By the time you leave work to go home, the only thing you want to do is to bathe and sleep. You are very tired. You cannot do any other extracurricular activity which can even give you a single coin. And if the time for you to be on duty is 8, it is 8. You can't even be late for 10 minutes. Because the training is that you can you lose a life because you have not attended the patient for 8 minutes? Yes. We see them, they bring there these accident victims in Mulago, and they just pour them there. And as soon as they pour them there, you see someone, they just put him on the bed, and in 5 minutes he's gone. So that is what it means. So you're not supposed to be late, because you have to report, your colleagues go, and then you remain. Or you report when you are few and not enough, your colleagues even have to first continue with you. Before when things stabilize, then they leave. Now, and the other thing, when you are deposited for internship or posted, you don't choose where to go.
Okay.
It is like the army. They choose for you. Me, Mulaka, I come from here and I did my internship from Mulago. But you find someone who comes from Mumbai, they throw him in Guru. There are some people who are from here, but they took them to Karamoja.
I have a cousin who grown up here, has never left Central Region. He was sent to Moroto.
There are others who have gone to Yumbe. So you go to a completely new environment, no one knows you there. You can't even say, I have my uncle here, he can give me something, and I buy it, and that's a bottle of soda. Now you imagine that you just land there, you don't have money, you don't have any hope of money. And you're a doctor, you have a degree, you are supposed to work on patients. And now it is very dangerous. That thing is, some people may not see, it is like giving a soldier a gun without a saddle and tell them gun to work. They will use this gun to protect people, but at some point in time, they will have to misuse this gun to fetch something to put in their pocket. So that is what we are trying to prevent. Give them money, make them comfortable, and then they concentrate on this patient and saving their lives and nothing else. And they will do their job. But when you compromise them when they don't have a single, because there are many families who have now these interns who have studied, but they have been on scholarships. Some have been sponsored by guardians. Some of them were lucky, they went and studied on government sponsorship. But when you look back at home and you tell that family that have sent your child to Karamoja, you need to take care of their needs for a week, they will just cry. They cannot afford.
Definitely.
That's why you see that even when the Minister of Health came out and said that those ones who can afford to do free internship come and apply, they failed to get the numbers. And everyone was wondering, we thought people would do medicine, the rich people and all that. It is not true. Actually, students who come from very poor families are the ones who concentrate the most because they have hope. When I studied, I become a doctor, maybe I'll be the one to help my family. Liberate the family.
Well, Doctor, I must look at some of the questions that are coming in from our viewers. Thank you so much for that. You can use the number to send me a text message. I think I have a challenge with my WhatsApp, so let's use text messages. Now, it says, okay, good morning. Sick people are increasing, yet government has no money. That is Steve. Okay, Steve, please, some grammatic issues. But I think he wanted to say sick people are increasing, yet government has no money to avail. Then we have, you senior doctors leave much of the work for interns and give most of your time to private clinics. Couldn't this be the reason for the pressure you have been putting on government to have them deploy Bomera David watching from Kasese. Thank you, David. Then good morning, UBC. I'm Kolo Leth Francis from Maracha district. For me, I'm not happy for the government not to pay much attention for the doctors yet are the ones helping Ugandans. Thank you. Please give me your name. I'll be very happy knowing who you are and where you're watching from. One says, but those people in the medical field demand for a lot of money from government, yet they extort and also have private clinics. Kindly use my text, send me a text. WhatsApp still has some issues. Now, these two, you want these interns to be in hospital so that you can go and participate or handle your private business. Then also one says you demand a lot of money from government to pay you for your welfare, but still patients, mostly in these public hospitals, cough a lot of money. They have to give this money. Yesterday, but one, I was in Mulagwa, I needed an operation. But I want to tell you, I just said, you know, brothers, let's just move to a private hospital. So these are also issues that the public feels that much as they agree and want to sympathize with you, but you're not so much of that help in that direction.
Now, let me first handle the issue, the number one, where they said that we abandon most of the work to the interns. This is not true, because the public service standing orders, like when you come here and you work for UBC, there is a stipulated amount of time you are supposed to work. And when that time is over, the law allows you, because it is the standing orders, you're allowed to go off duty, you go and do other things. And then number two, there's no law which prevents any public servant from having a private practice. So people think that we leave most of the work to be done by the interns because they think we have enough health workforce in these government hospitals. It is not true. The problem is that it is because we are few. Like I told you earlier, you find, let me give you an example of Moroto, which is in Karamoja. Moroto, it is a regional referral hospital. Ideally, at that capacity, it is supposed to be having at least 3 specialists in each and every department: surgery, gynecology, pediatrics, and obstetrics. When you go to surgery, the hospital, a regional referral hospital, Moroto has only 1 surgeon instead of 3. When you go to obstetrics, they have only 1 gynecologist in that department instead of 3. When you go to pediatrics, they don't have a pediatrician. So that department is, you can't refer your child to that hospital much as a referral, because there's no pediatrician you're referring to. When you go to internal medicine, these are people who have high blood pressure, diabetes, and all that. There's no physician in that hospital. But it is a regional referral hospital. You're supposed to refer there patients who have pressure, diabetes, with complicated cases for the physician to handle. We are supposed to be having 3, but we have 0. When you come to the lower cadres, the medical officers, I think the last time we visited Moroto last year, I realized that the medical officers who are employed on the government payroll in that hospital were not more than 5 at that time. And they had volunteers who were working under COVID, and these ones were the ones who are trying to push the others. So that time, actually when we were there, those ones who were working under COVID, they had scrapped them off. They didn't even pay them their money. They told them, you go home, your contracts are done. They left the others who were actually, I think, 4. Now, when you look at that kind of staffing, let me tell you, when you are 1 person in a department of a government hospital, however much you work 24 hours and you do whatever you can, your efforts will never be felt. Because you are 1 person and the patients are very many. You work on 10, you lose the 30. So it's almost no work done because you have lost most of your patients. So for us, the public servants, and it is generally in all the hospitals in Uganda, where you expect 10 doctors, you have 4. Those ones who are doing a bit well, they have like 5, where you expect 5. We're expecting they have like 5. So you come and you work and you do your 8 hours per the government standing orders. You do some work, but because you are few, the ones who are duly employed by the government, your presence is not really felt very well. Yes. And because now these interns who are supporting you are many in number, they are felt more. I'll tell you that most of the mothers who come and fail to deliver during labor, the people who operate on those mothers are these medical interns. And they only call you as a senior to come and help them when they think the surgery has become a problem and they cannot save her. And then you come and you guide. And most of the time, while these doctors, we don't want to fix ourselves on starting on doing those operations, is because you want to supervise everyone. You only want to come in and help that the one you think is struggling and is failing to save a life. Because when you make yourself too busy on a certain spot, then the other areas are dying. You are not supervising them. So at the end of the day, you realize that you do that, you train the interns, they do most of the work, and it is good for them because they learn number 2, then and then number 3, they serve the lives of the patient. So they do most of the work because they are more than us in number in this government hospital. So they are seen. Then the other thing is, as you are growing in the profession, as you are starting as a junior person, you can do the 15 hours a day, the 16 hours a day. But as you are growing old, you realize that you cannot push that much. And you also want to be strict to the 8 hours you're supposed to be, because in a way, that's what you're paid for. So you say, okay, since government is not giving us other colleagues, the seniors, to come and we work with, and they are relying on interns, then let the interns do the work. And when they are paid a good allowance, it also makes us happy, because somehow it is not the exact money which can actually which is befitting the kind of service they are giving you, but you say at least the 2.5 million can make them comfortable. I can tell you, when you look at the kind of work these interns do and the amount of lives they save, the 2.5 million is nothing. It's not even, when you sit with these interns in one day, you just take your cameras and just get one, you move with them everywhere they go. You realize the 2.5 million is not worth the work they are doing. That's why it is even called the annual allowance. It is not a salary. So it is, when you compare this money to the lives these interns save, the amount of work, the service they give to government, no one should even complain. You can do your study, follow one intern in the hospital, then you get one lawyer, you also follow them during their field of work, and then you measure depending on the output. Because actually when you go to some countries, they pay salary depending on what the type of work would do, the type of the output and the hours. Those are the things they use to determine the salaries they pay people. So you can look at it in that aspect for these interns, and then you understand that this money is little. Yes.
Well, the discussion is very interesting, but I must let my guest go. However, I just have a few messages for you here. I hate the fact that many medics are arrogant in the way they handle patients. They should be down to earth. If God should soften the hearts of government to increase their fare. That is Agre DK Kapchora. I have, hello, good morning. I'm Sharon from Kireka. I am not happy with the government for not paying intern doctors. The outcome is going to be bad on patients. While finally they are going to be deployed and with some pay. Abda from Seronko, my opinion is let them be given favor. Let them, let them be given favorable to doctors. Okay, something there. And another one, government must stop lip service, but look into the welfare of medical personnel. Tuaha from Koboko. And finally, in the interest of time, allow me, I'm here wondering where will all that money come from to pay them amidst indebted economy. Sincerely, doctors do good job, but their remuneration is quite cumbersome. Joshua K. And I'll end with my brother here, Frederick, who says government must revise salaries for interns to 1 million to get to have them perform to the best. Your parting shot, Doctor.
Yes, I would like to. For the health workers, our colleagues who extort money, yet they get good pay and they are doing it unnecessarily. That is, in a malicious way, it is bad, and we condemn it because we know there are few actually doing it. Yes. That is very wrong. And then, yes, we are allowed to do our private practice as health workers, but let us first handle the 8 hours which we are supposed to spend in the government hospitals, and we save the lives of our patients. Then we can use the other time to go and do our private practice. And then I want to thank government that finally they have deployed the interns with some pay, and they have not insisted on promoting slavery. And I want to encourage our interns to feel at home for now. Let them be patient. Provide services to our clients, take good care of them. With time, we shall get back to the 2.5 million. I know some of them feel like they lost, but our president who gave the 2.5 million is still here. And I strongly believe the government has the money and can afford. You know, our president is a very smart man. He does not start something he cannot afford. The government can afford that money and we shall get it back. And I would like to thank our colleagues, the nurses and the pharmacists who are willing to join us in solidarity to fight for the juniors, UMA members of the Elders Forum, and whoever has been working with us and advised us to ensure that finally the medical interns are deployed.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Herbert Ruswata, who is the Secretary General of Uganda Medical Association. Thank you for your time, and of course our viewers, thank you very much. The messages that have come in and the fact that you're wherever you are and you're watching UBC TV, don't take that for granted. For the medical interns, well, you have proven your worth. You have been able to set the ball rolling. Now, come 3rd of this very month, you're expected to be at your stations of deployment in the 58 centers, and the list is out. Find out where you're going, and please, when you reach there, we've stood by you, we've had whatever, please bear in mind that the patients need that human touch. Be kind to the patients, love them, care for them, because most of the times there's this feeling that our health workers, doctor, by and large, like a human face, sometimes are so rude. We miss that in the profession. Well, Ruben will be taking you through sports in the next hour. Good morning.